My name is Rahul and welcome to this session on Java language. In this video, we will try to understand multiple examples on methods, return type and parameters. Before starting with this session, let me just brief you about what we have learned till now. So we have seen the syntax of method declaration, right? Wherein we have understood the access modifier. In order to enable the visibility or disable the visibility, we use access modifier, and we have 4 types of access modifier, right? Public, then private, protected, and default. We also call it as package label. Non-access modifier, we have understood about the static and non-static. I'll be creating a separate video on static and non-static wherein we will understand with the examples, and also we will understand the difference between static and non-static. Return type we have seen, so mainly we have 3 types of return type in Java. First one is of void type, which returns nothing. Second is of primitive type, and third one is of boolean type, right? So boolean type we will again understand once we understand the concept of object. Method name, this is something we call it as identifier. In order to give the identification of that particular method, we use the identifier called method name over here, and we can also pass the parameters. So these all things we will understand with the help of examples in this lecture. So let's get started. So first we will try to understand the example on methods, how we declare the methods and how we get the input. So I'll just take you to the Eclipse, and guys, if you have not watched the video yet, you can just go to YouTube and you can just go to CodeSpark channel, and you can just refer lecture number 13 and 14 to get the more information on declaration and syntax of methods, wherein we have discussed about access modifier, non-access modifier, return type, method name with the example. So let's get started. So I'll just take you to the workbench, and let me create one. I have already created a methods. So if you don't know how to create any Java project, then you just have to go to files, click on new over here and click on Java project. After that, you just have to select the src folder and do right click on that, and you just have to go to package and start creating your classes, right? So I already have my source folder and the package called return type over here. Let me just try to create my class over here. So I'll just create a class called program2. So let me just say class over here, and I'll just say program2 over here. I'll use public static void main, and I'll just click on finish. Now here, this is the class I have created with the name of program2. And this is the class declaration. This is the main method declaration, right? Now let's understand the declaration of method and how we get the output using the method declaration, right? So what I'll do is I'll just say, let's say my method declaration will start with void, and I'll just say public over here. So this public is access modifier, right? And here I'll just say non-access modifier called static, and void is the return type over here, and the method name. So method name I'll just say test over here, and I'll not use any parameter in this example. So first let's understand without parameter. We will also see how we can pass the parameter and we get the output using that. So here this is what we have. So if I just compare it using this, then let me just copy it and paste it over here, just say enter. So this is access modifier, right? So access modifier is your public over here. Public means what? This test method will have the visibility to variables or methods in this entire program, right? Non-access modifier, static. It means if you have a method or variable declared with the help of static keyword, then you can easily access that particular method inside the static method. So you don't have to declare anything. You can directly call this method, and without static keyword, that we will understand in coming lectures. So don't worry about that. And if you see a return type, right? So what is the return type over here? Void means what? It returns nothing. Method name is a test over here. This is the method name, and parameter I have not used for this example. Later I'll use it. So if I just say here system.out.println, so if I just say hello test method over here, and so this is the implementation of test method, right? Now in order to get this implementation printed in console or command prompt, what we will have to do is we just have to call this method. So in order to call, since both are static, this main method will always be static and this is also static, so you just have to call that method. So you just have to use the method name itself. My method name is test over here, so you just have to use the same thing over here in order to call it. Now this I have used, right? You can also call this with the help of class name. So I'll just say class name dot method name. This also you can use. So this, guys, we will understand in coming lecture. You don't have to worry about it. Why I have not used class name dot variable name, that also I'll explain in coming lecture, right? So for now, just understand, if it is static and static, then you can directly call that particular method or variable inside the static section. You don't have to use any other thing. You don't have to create any object in order to print that, right? So I have used it. Now in order to get the output, either you can just do right click and go to run as and say one Java application, or you can also just click on this UI, which is available in Eclipse, right? So you can see hello, test method has been printed over here. So this is how you can print the output. And if you just see, so this is the method declaration we use in Java language, right? This is also kind of a method declaration in Java language, right? Public static void main. So that we will understand why we use public static void main, why we don't use MAIN over here instead of small letter. So that we will understand. So if you just try to run this program, right, you will get a compile time error saying that let's see what is the error we got here. So you can see error, main method not found in class return type dot program. So this is my return type is my package and program2 is my class name. So this is what we call package dot class name. Please define, so it says please define the main method as public static void main string AR. So this is the method declaration which is already predefined in the Java language, and that the same thing we use. And most of the guys, they don't understand the explanation of the main method declaration, and they say, hey, this is predefined and you don't have to understand it. But guys, there is a logic behind this that I'll be explaining in coming lecture. This is how we declare the main method, normal method declaration in Java language. Now, if I just show you some other example on it. So let me just copy the same thing here, and I'll just say this as program3, and I'll just click on OK. Now here, what I'll do is I'll just say, I'll just remove this test method over here. What will happen if I don't use, this is the method declaration, right? So method declaration, if you don't use public static, no problem, this will work. But if you remove return type from here, then you will get a compile time error, and this is mandatory. For each and every method declaration, you will have to at least use return type and the method name. If you remove this return type from here, then you will get a compile time error. In case of constructor, we don't use any return type because constructor never return any value. So that we will understand, but there's a condition to use constructor in your class. But for method declaration, you will have to use at least return type and the method name. These two things are prerequisite in order to declare the methods. Public and static, access modifier and non-access modifier, it's totally up to you. If you want to use it, you can use it. If you don't want, then don't use it. Same as like we use protected keyword or private keyword and all, right? At least void and method name you will have to use. Now if I just say here return null, I already told you, right? Void never returns any value. So if you just say return null, then see what error we are getting here. Void method cannot return a value. Means even void does not return null in your program. So in that case, you just have to use return keyword, because in each and every program, by default, all the method returns some value. Or it does not return anything. So if you want to use the return keyword, you can use it. If you don't use it, then compiler will itself use this keyword in your program at the end of your method declaration. Now let's try to understand the parameter concept, right? So this is I'll just say static over here. So this is my method declaration. I want to call this and I want to pass some value, right? So what I'll do is I'll just copy the same method over here and I'll just set test. Now which value you want to pass? So let's say I'll say 10 over here. So in the main method, you have passed 10 value as a parameter. Now if you have passed it, if you have used this over here, then you will have to hold this value. Now in order to hold it, what we use is we use argument type and the argument name. Int is nothing but your argument type, which says the nature of A over here. It means A is of what type? Integer type. A is what? Your argument name. So this can be anything. If you want, you can just say B, C, D something, right? Or I'll just say user input over here, right? This value, what it does is, if you try to, let me just give you one more example here. So I'll just copy the same thing here and I'll just paste it over here. Now here it says this, right? So I'll remove int user input, and in this I'll just say sys out, and I'll just say test method without argument, right? And in this section, so this value, it will go and it will get stored in this value, right? So I'll just say sysout user input over here. Now try to understand this example. I have told you, right? One method with the same name or variable cannot be declared in the same program. But here if you see, I have used the same method with the name of test. So in this case, what happens is if you try to call this, so I'll just say test again, right? If you try to call this, or let me just comment this section for now. Now what happens is controller will be here, JVM controller will be here, and it will try to execute the code. Now it will go and check, okay, there's a test method which has the parameter. It will go and check, okay, there's a two test method, one is this and second one is this. Which one I should call? So here JVM will get confused. Now it will again try to parse it from left to right, and it will proceed further. It will check, okay, this test method had some parameter. Now it will go and check, okay, this test method is without parameter, and this test method has some parameter called user input. And this is of what? Int type, because here we have stored what? 10 value. If you just say 10.0, then it will not be able to store that value, and it will give you a compile time error, because in the implementation you have not used any test method which has the parameter double or float. So it will throw a compile time error, and you will not be able to compile your code. So if you just set 10, then it will go and it will check, okay, there is a method with the name of test which has the parameter as int type. It will assign this value over here, and it would be like this: int user input equals to 10. So the same thing we have done, right? If you have declaration and initialization over here, then what we do is, so if we have this example, right, to get the output, what we do? We just say sys out, and we just say user input, right, in order to print this value. So here what we are doing is we are indirectly assigning this value inside the user input variable name, which is inside the test method. Now if someone asks, this user input is of global type or local type, your answer should be local type. So this is local variable. Why? Because the extent of this variable is inside this method itself. So this is of local variable type and not global variable type. So this is again interview question, guys. They will give you such type of example, and they will ask, user input is of global variable type or local variable type. Then definitely you will say, hey, this is of global variable type, but answer is wrong. This is of local variable type. So the same thing here we are doing, right? So if you just want to print it, then we just say system.out.println, and if you just run your code, then you will get output as 10 over here. Okay, sorry, I think because of this we are getting errors. So let me just say main over here. That should be in lowercase. Now if you just try to run your code, you will get output as 10. I want to print test method with argument as well in my console section. Now in that case, you will have to call a test method without passing any argument, because this test method is of without argument. Now if you run your code, then you will get two output. First one is 10 and second one is test method with argument or without argument, right? So this is how we use parameter example in Java language. Now coming to the next thing, let's try to understand with the help of return type as well. So I'll just take another example. I'll just copy this, go to return type, and I'll just say paste over here. Now in this example, let's try to understand this. Let me remove this all example from here. Now return type, as I told you, this is mainly we use of three types. First one is void, second one is primitive type, and third one is boolean type. So primitive type is like if you use void, let's say if I just say void test, and if I just use the braces over here, if I just say system.out.println, say hello. Now if you just try to run the code, definitely you will get output as hello over here. Here you will have to call it. So let me just say static, call this method as test. Now if you just try to run your code, you will get output as what? Hello. Because I have used void, so if you want, you can just say return keyword. But if you try to return any value, then you will get a compile time error, because void never returns any value in Java. But if I just say int over here, then you will have to return a value which will be of what type? Integer type. You cannot return any other value apart from it. In here you will have to say 10 or any integer number. It could be 0 or 5 or 4. That should be of what type? Integer type. Now if you just run your code, then you will get output as hello over here. In the same way, if you use a float or character or string, let's say if I just say string over here, and if you just pass any other value, let's say any integer value or float value, then you will get a compile time error. So here you will have to return what? Rahul or some other string. Now if you just run your code, then you will get output as hello. So guys, this all concept are very easy. You will have to do is you just have to do practice. So in order to get the hands-on, definitely you will have to practice each and every program multiple times. And in case of any query, any doubt, you can just let me know in the comment section and I will do the needful. This is all about this video. If you need any help, you can just write an email to woodspark567@gmail.com. And so stay tuned for coming lectures. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe. Stay safe, stay healthy.